Hey everyone, and welcome. In this explainer, we're going to break down the Resources and Development chapter and show you exactly how to master it for your exams. We'll cover the core concepts, the big problems, the smart solutions, and most importantly, we'll apply it all to real board questions.
So, let's kick things off with a big question, just to get your brain working. The journey from a simple rock buried in the ground to the smartphone that's probably in your hand right now, well, that's a perfect real-life example of our topic today. And the answer? It lies in the very definition of a resource.
Okay, so here's the game plan. We're going to build this from the ground up, starting with what a resource even is. Then we'll sort them out, look at what happens when we misuse them, explore the idea of sustainability, and finally, we'll crack the CBSE code by tackling actual exam questions together.
All right, let's dive right in. Section 1, the core definition. This is the absolute foundation for everything else. Trust me, if you really get this concept, the entire chapter will just click into place.
Now, you're going to want to listen up here. This exact definition is literally a goldmine for one-mark questions, so you'll want to know it by heart. See, a resource isn't just, stuff. It has to pass 3 critical tests. We need the tech to get it, it has to be affordable to process, and our culture has to be okay with using it. Just think about the lithium in your phone's battery. It was just another rock until we figured out how to get it and use it in a way that made sense economically.
And this diagram, it shows you exactly how that transformation happens. This is a recurring pattern in exam questions, so pay attention. The best way to remember it is as a 3-legged stool. You've got human beings right in the middle. We interact with nature, using our technology, and working through institutions, like governments and companies, to create development. You need all 3 legs for that stool to stand. Take one away, and the whole thing collapses. So, now that we know what a resource is, the next logical question is, how do we organize them all? Think of it like a giant jigsaw puzzle. Classification is just the system we use to sort all the pieces so we can see the full picture.
And this flowchart, this is your ultimate guide. I know it might look a little complicated at first, but it really just boils down to 4 simple questions you ask about any resource. First, its origin. Is it living or non-living? Second, its exhaustibility. In other words, will it run out? Third, its ownership. Is it yours, mine, or everyone's? And fourth, its status of development. Are we actually ready to use it yet? Knowing these 4 bases is absolutely crucial.
Let's start with that first one. Origin. Is it living or not? Simple, right? Biotic resources, like the wood for our furniture or the fish we eat, come from the living biosphere. Abiotic resources, on the other hand, are the non-living things, like the iron ore needed for steel or the sunlight that powers solar panels. This distinction is a classic 2-mark question. And don't forget the other types. On the basis of exhaustibility, you've got renewables like wind and non-renewables like coal. And based on ownership, you have individual, community, national, and even international resources.
Okay, now we get to the central conflict of the chapter. Resources are the foundation of everything we build, but what happens when our use of them goes wrong? This is where the story gets really important for our planet's future. You're going to want to pay close attention to these 3 points because they are tailor-made for a long answer question. First, we use resources up way too fast. Second, the wealth from these resources gets concentrated in just a few hands, creating this massive gap between the haves and the have-nots. And third, this reckless use leads to huge planetary problems like climate change. I mean, you see this stuff in the news every single day, right?
Faced with these crises, the world kind of realized, whoa, we can't just keep doing this. We needed a whole new plan for development, a much smarter way to grow without completely destroying our home.
And here it is. This is that solution. This is another one of those definitions you should commit to memory. Sustainable development has 2 simple parts. Part 1, develop, but don't wreck the planet while you do it. Part 2, don't use everything up today so that future generations are left with nothing. It's really just about being smart and being fair to both the planet and to our own future. And this wasn't just some abstract idea. It became a global mission. The Rio Earth Summit back in 1992 was a huge deal. World leaders came together and officially put sustainable development on the map. The key thing you have to remember from this is Agenda 21. That was the action plan for making sustainability a reality. And now, the payoff. Let's apply everything we've just learned to some real questions from your board papers. This is how you turn all that knowledge into actual marks.
Okay, check this out. It's a match the column question from a recent board paper. I want you to take a moment, pause the explainer right here, and see if you can solve it yourself. All right, you ready? Did you get your answer? Let's walk through it. First, we have biological resource. Well, bio means living, so that clearly matches with wildlife. Next is renewable resource, something we can get more of.
Looking at the options, solar energy is the perfect fit. That leaves non-renewable, which is finite, and that has to be coal. So the correct sequence is I2, I3, and III1, which means option C is our winner. See? It directly tests if you know that classification chart.
Let's try another one. This question asks, transformation of things available in our environment involves an interactive relationship between... Go ahead, pause again and work through the logic. Okay, you got it? The correct answer is B. This question is all about that interdependent relationship we called the three-legged stool. Remember, it takes nature, technology, and institutions for humans to create resources and development. The other options are missing a piece of the puzzle. This is a classic question pattern, so make sure you've got it locked in.
So, to wrap it all up, here are your key exam takeaways. First, you have to master those two definitions for resource and sustainable development. Second, know the 4 bases for classifying resources cold. Third, remember the 3 major problems that come from misusing them. And finally, never forget that powerful three-legged stool analogy: nature, technology, and institutions, all working together.
And with that, you are ready to go out there and tackle this topic. But, as a final thought, ask yourself this question. After everything we've talked about, what resource in your daily life will you see differently? Will it be the water from your tap, the electricity powering your screen, or the food on your plate? Because understanding this chapter doesn't just change your exam score, it changes how you see the world.